Oh, hey there. So, in Mongolia, as you well know, it was under Chinese rule for a very long time, hundreds of years. Then it had a couple years of freedom. Then it was under Russian rule for a very long time, and it's only had its freedom for about 30 years. And so, a lot of things feel like they're underdeveloped, and that's because they are underdeveloped, because they were under communism. And a lot of people, I guess young people these days, want to act like communism is a good thing. And let me tell you, the people here that have lived under it, as soon as you bring anything up remotely implying communism, they prickle up and they're like, don't you even talk about that. Like, we've lived through that and we know how bad it is. Because the thought process is, oh, everybody will have the same amount. So there's this many resources and everybody will have an equal share of that. But what it really means is everybody gets the least amount possible, and the few at the top keep everything. Kind of like it is everywhere else, except for at least in America, we have a fighting chance to pretend like we can actually make something more than the bare minimum. Now, let me give you one example of how communism is still, the thought process is still there, the infrastructure is still there. So in Mongolia, in the big city, in Ulaanbaatar, where we are, there's 1.6 million people, and you don't have individual water heaters or individual heaters for your home. So they decide when they're going to turn the heat on and how much you're going to get for the whole city. And if it's too hot in there, they're like, open a window. And if it's too cold, they're like, I don't know, put on another layer of clothes or whatever. And if there's no hot water, they're like, there's no hot water for a little bit. And everybody just kind of lives with it. And that's difficult, but that's what communism is all about. So if you're thinking what a glorious thing that should be, then go live in it. Because I'll tell you what, I grew up on some hippie communes, and that was, American communism, if you will. And quickly what happens is a bunch of people work real hard, thinking everybody else is going to work real hard, and then they don't. And they get their feelings hurt because they're working and other people aren't working, and they should get the same as everybody else. Then there's a bunch of freeloaders that are just doing nothing, and they're getting the same share, at which point everybody's jealous. They go, how come they get the same share as we do? And it just doesn't work. Human nature doesn't allow it to work. It sounds real good in theory, but in reality, not so much. So, I don't know where I'm going with that, except for the fact that when I saw people in real life that had really lived it, and they were like, do not even imply that we're going to have to live through that again, because it was horrible.